I'm like, don't forget the record button. Okay, so let's find a comfortable seat. If you're able to sit on your heels or between the heels, then great. If not, please just sit comfortably, and that can also be in a chair or on the couch. But if you can sit on your heels or between your heels, go ahead and do that. So we are working through the chakra system. We are in the third chakra, the manipura, the shining jewel, the fire element. We are also just at the fixed fire full moon point. So a lot of fire energy coming in. The moon officially moves into that energy at right around the time this class ends. So we're coming right into that fire energy with the sun, with the moon, and through our system. So allowing yourself to sit up nice and tall. Relax the shoulders, and you can just kind of move the body a little bit. Close your eyes. And so in yoga, we talk about fire as in the Agni. The Agni is in the belly. The Agni is our digestive fire, but it's also the fire of truth, the Satya Graha, the fire that brings us our truth, that brings us into action. And so when fire is out of balance in either the heart meridians, which is the Chinese medicine model, or in the solar plexus, which is the more tantric chakra model, we can either have totally unmotivated, full of shame, unable to act. And when it's imbalanced, right, there's too much. And if you're familiar with Southern California, we know what happens when there's too much fire, right? It's destructive. It can be violent, it can be brutal. Fire is the fastest moving element in terms of its alchemy. So place your hands, maybe place one hand at your solar plexus, one hand on your heart, and feel for you, where is that fire in your body? Where does that fire feel more true? And again, you can put both hands at your solar plexus, at your heart, and just feel into your fire. Feel into the warmth and the heat of your body. Fire is radiance. Fire is passion. It's play. It's courage. And so we want to settle into our fire. Our fire is what animates us. It is what moves the life force through the body. In yoga, we talk about the Agni Pranamala, the linking of the fire with the breath, the life force. It burns through the undigested experience, the ego, the illusion, the delusion. And so just let yourself settle into this space. And again, any kind of movement is available. And as you feel into your heart, as you feel into your solar plexus, or maybe even the space between, right, where they start to come together, you can imagine a candle flame. You can imagine a dancing fire. The sense associated with the Manipura chakra is sight. And so I'm going to offer the yantra if you want to work with vision and visualization while we're doing our yin sequence. And so you can also just try to imagine the color yellow, or like I said, a flame or a candle. And maybe you have a candle in the room that you can light and meditate on through the practice. Otherwise, imagine a golden circle. And this is the Manipura lotus. It's a golden circle with 10 orange petals. And inside the golden circle, there's an inverted red triangle. So a round golden circle with 10 orange petals and the inverted red triangle. And you can visualize that at your solar plexus, at your heart, at the space between. And fire is so personal. The Manipura chakra is individual. The root chakra is planet and ancestry, our people. The second chakra is the one-on-one intimacy. The third chakra is I, me, mine. And we need a healthy identity in order to step into our power. And may the practice tonight, this full moon fire practice, support us in burning through the illusion and the shame and activating confidence, will, power, passion, joy. And if you'd like to chant with me, we'll chant the seed sound of the Manipura chakra, which is Ram, R-A-M. You can hold that image of a candle or the yantra. Take a deep breath in. And then slowly release. And we're going to make our way onto the belly for Sphinx. So if you feel at any point like you need to move, like you need to wiggle, like you need to stretch, let that fire move through your body. As you come onto belly, placing the forearms down, coming onto the pelvis, I'm going to give you a few options. So option one, feet are hip width distance apart, tops of the feet down, and the gaze is right out in front of you. And this is just a basic Sphinx pose. To make this more challenging, you can open your legs so the knees are wide as the mat, and then bring your big toe side of your foot together, pressing the pelvis down, and then start to lift the gaze. So this will deepen this pose. If you need less, you can actually get your bolster and your blocks and place them underneath the ribs and the head. So right under the ribs, and then you can place the forehead down. We just want to make sure the shoulders don't come into the ears. And again, even here, you can still bend the knees and bring the toes together. So this is opening the back of the heart, and Sphinx is excellent for stretching the abdominal muscles and strengthening the back muscles. So some of the anatomy of the manipura chakra is the solar plexus, the digestive organs, specifically our spleen and pancreas as well, and then opening up through the big muscles in the back. And then if we touch a little bit into the Chinese medicine model, and we'll continue to work the heart next week when we're in the heart chakra. We have again, the heart, the lungs, the hands. And so again, just letting that fire move through you. So as I said, sight is the sense associated here. So keeping your eyes closed and maybe trying to bring in that image of a golden light, the yantra, a flame, or if you do have a candle that you could safely put near your gazing point, that can be really powerful too. And belly breath. So breathe into your belly. As you inhale, let belly fill up. And as you exhale, let the belly draw back towards the spine. A lot of times when we're working the manipura chakra, there's this idea that we want to get sweaty and hot. And that can be fun, right? It can be fun to do a lot of sun salutes and core work and all of that. And sweat is a powerful tapas, a powerful purification. But meditation and the slower mindful poses create a completely different type of heat because they penetrate to the deeper levels of the mind and the vital organs. I have a background in, hot yoga and Ashtanga yoga, the physical practice, not necessarily the philosophy. And I tell you, nothing was ever harder than the 10 days I spent in like a silent meditation. Like that was a totally different kind of burning away. And that tradition, the Vipassana tradition, it really is about alert, like penetration. It's a sharpness. And so when we're talking about fire, it's not always about it being a big flame, a big explosion. Sometimes that slow, consistent burn is even more powerful. And so we do ourselves sort of a misservice when we think of the third chakra as just like core work, right? When we don't think of it as visualization or that deep penetration of the mind and the vital organs, because that's where detoxification comes from. You can sweat as much as you want, but like a deep lasting detoxification has to come from the vital organs and also from the mind. The mind being willing to let go of outdated ideas, concepts, misperception, misvision, right? Our eyes are constantly taking in stimulation. And so we see something, we want it, and then we act. So that's the relationship between the sense of sight and the third chakra. I see it, I want it, it's mine, right? And even back in like the caveman days, it was like, that instinctual, and we see it with animals too. It's just, they don't even think about it. I want that, it's mine, right? Like that is the third chakra nature. But again, we have to learn how to share power and pause and allow our vision to support our action in a sustainable way. Take another big breath in your Sphinx or whatever version you're in. Sigh it out. And then take your time, take the next few breaths. You can extend your legs out long. Give it a little shake. And then we're gonna push ourselves up and back into child's pose. So you're welcome to bring props with you. Big toes together, bring your hips back. Again, you can put the prop between the thighs, forehead down, or just allow your balasana to be just on the earth. Knees wide, forehead down. You can always make a little pillow with your hands. And just breathe into the belly. So deep belly breath and balasana. So once again, if you feel like the body wants a little bit of movement, you're encouraged to do that. It can feel good to bring fire through the body, or just keep that fire more mindful, more penetrative. Is that a word? Penetrative? I feel like it's a word. Maybe I'm just not saying it right. Full moon energy. It's hard to put together linear, rational thoughts when we get closer to the full moon. So take another big breath in and sigh it out. And any movement that feels good. Releasing the belly, releasing the back of the heart still. And then roll yourself up to the heels and come on to your bottom. You are welcome to sit up on something, and we're going to come into half butterfly. So bring the left heel in and the right leg out wide. You can put some support underneath that left thigh, and again, sit up on something. Lengthen up, take a deep breath, and then right hand down the right leg. Start to roll your chest open for half butterfly. Left hand can stay on the left thigh, or you can start to play with reaching up and opening. The top hand can also come behind the back. So we're starting to open the side body. The side body in both the Chinese medicine system and in the chakra system, the side body is connected to opening up the heart. The meridian lines in the heart meridian run through the arm and the chest, and then obviously our belly and our side body. So soften the jaw, breathe here. We're also getting a little bit of opening through the hip, extension through the right leg. And again, those of you who have, more fiery practices, you can kind of start to reach for the toe, or you can even add some circles with the arm, or, if you even want to kind of flow in and out of this side. Otherwise, just breathe here. Soften the shoulders, soften the face. Continue to soften the gaze, or if you're having your candle nearby, gazing at the flame. Belly breath. And I love the yantras. I don't use them for every chakra because the visualization is not always really always appropriate in the sequence that I'm offering. But especially with the first and third chakra and then the sixth chakra, the visualization is so important. Really, it's a skill to be able to see what you want, right? And like sometimes that's literal. You're like out and then all of a sudden you see like a cookie and you're like, I want the cookie, so I get the cookie. But a lot of times it is a practice of like, what do I want? How do I visualize my future, my desires, my power? And so people work with things like vision boards, or in yoga, we talk about bhavana, which is the technique of writing out your future as though it's happening. A lot of people work in that practice. You have to see what you want. And even in healing, there's been a lot of studies when someone's recovering from an injury or an illness that if they can visualize themselves better and doing these things they want to do, they oftentimes will have a better, more consistent recovery than if someone can't see that process. So it's a skill. Take a few more breaths. So third chakra is bringing sight into action, seeing something and then being able to choose to act on it, and hopefully appropriately and ethically. Good. Slowly bring it up and give yourself a little shake, a little shift. We're going to come into side two. So anything you need to do to adjust that, widen the stance, maybe offering support under the right thigh, so half a butterfly pose. And the left leg, the knee can be soft. You can have some support under the heel. And you don't need to have the foot super flexed. So in yin, we don't want the musculature to overtake the experience for the tendons and the ligaments and the joints. So when the muscles fire up, they protect the joints and the tendons and the ligament, which is their job. But in yin, we actually want to put some healthy stress to actually strengthen the joints, the tendons, the ligaments, getting into the deeper fascia, getting into the organ awareness. So if you, again, have a more fiery practice, just be mindful that you're not over flexing. And if you are flexing because there's too much sensation, then back out or put some support in. Breathe into your belly. And you can think about sort of turning the heart and the solar plexus up. So towards that full moon sky. Soften the shoulders and the face. And like I said before, if any movement comes through, and it can be spontaneous, it can be a movement that you know feels good in your body. There can always be a little pulse. So fire is not really stagnant, right? There's definitely a pulse to fire, whether it's an ember or a blazing flame. And so even in the still poses, there's still the breath. There's still the little shifts through the body. We don't want to get stagnant. We don't want to put out that fire. We want to keep it flowing through us. Again, being mindful of sensation, of vision. And like I said, it's amazing. You know, I always reflect on that. You know, I would have rather taken like 10 heated yoga classes in a row than some of the discomfort I felt sitting in meditation 10 hours a day at that time. And it's a different purification. You know, we have to sort of redefine how we look at purification. It's not always just physical, right? We have to purify, you know, when you take time and do an internet fast or a social media fast, you know, we purify the mind. We spend time in darkness. We consciously abstain from certain foods or substances. Whenever we practice those tapas, the heat, the discipline, right? We're connecting to that more penetrative, that's it, right? That's how you say that word, purifying fire. So take a couple more breaths. Little movements, always encouraged. And then slowly bring it up. Whew. Extend your legs out for just a moment. Hands behind you, give them a little shake. So we're going to move into the dragon sequence. And I was really surprised when my yin teacher was like, okay, we're going to do dragon pose for fire. I was like, what? And she was like, well, again, it brings up heat. So a lot of times there's poses that while they don't necessarily connect to the belly or the heart, they build heat in the body and they help to purify. So you can always lie on your back and do half happy baby as well. If you'd like to take a down dog or something or any kind of movement, you can. But otherwise, we're going to go for it. So we start with lizard. Lizard is right foot forward to start, or it doesn't really matter what side as long as you're mindful of that. Foot to the edge of the mat, back knee down, hands inside. Okay, so this is lizard. A couple options here is to turn the right foot out to begin to open, to bring support under your hands or forearms. And the back knee is what makes the difference between lizard and dragon. So to keep it in lizard, you can just pad the back knee. And if you have knee tenderness, that's great. If you want to go for dragon, we want to take a block or a more firm object, preferably not too firm. And we're going to put that under the back knee. And if you're doing that, you will notice an immediate difference in the pose. Because when we put the block under the back knee, then we're just going to start to get into the hip flexor and the psoas. And boy, does that heat us up. So coming into our lizard, into our dragon, we are going to be here for a couple of moments. If you need to come onto the back, right, we can take that half happy baby, pulling the thigh in, foot to the sky. Okay, so that's essentially doing the same hip opener, but unlike swan or some of the hip openers, this one, like I said, this one brings a heat into the body. And especially if you bring that dragon into it. So I was like, how does this become dragon? And then you're like, okay, after a minute or two with the back knee on the block, you're like, so breathe, you can move, deep belly breath, let the head and neck go. You can lower to the forearms. And keep the awareness in the belly, keep the heart soft, relax your jaw. The trouble is with doing this pose with you is it starts to get challenging to talk to distract you. There's also the solidarity in some of these poses of like, okay, I'm not going to make you do this by yourself. I will be here with you. And this is a good pose for the fire full moon too, because if you're feeling some of that drama, this is a full moon that's associated with drama. If you work with astrology, this is Leo, fixed fire. So perfect for the manipura chakra week. And again, in its balanced quality, Leo is loyal and passionate and fierce and devoted. It's the lioness. It is the proud energy. It's the healthy power. But again, and it's, when it starts to get into its shadow, there can be some drama. There can be some self-centeredness. And it's a balance. It's all a balance. And when the moon is in a fire sign, it's interesting, especially because we're about to hit that first Mercury retrograde of the year. So please be gentle with yourself and your words. So if you're starting to feel some heat, exhale out the mouth if you need to. And as long as there's not a burning, sharp pain in your joints, see if you can try to stay and just wiggle and breathe. But if that fire element moves into the joints, then we want to get out. We don't want fire in the joints, okay? Take a couple more breaths, big breaths. Where can you soften? Okay, and then we're gonna add a little bit if you want. So whatever leg is up, we're gonna take that hand to the thigh for the twist. So now we're gonna get more of those heart lines in here, okay? So right hand, I have my right foot forward, so my right hand is here. You can even reach the top arm up or bring it back behind you. So we're opening up that solar plexus or opening up the heart. And if you are in any version of dragon, you're feeling that left hip flexor. Whew. Soften the jaw, take a big breath. Inhale. Exhale. And then slowly unwind. Oh, if you're in dragon, please mindfully release that block. And then you can slide yourself back to child's pose or down dog or whatever you need to do. Give yourself a moment. If you need to wiggle a little bit, I like to do some hip circles after that because that, again, the fire, right? Are people feeling the fire in the left hip flexor? Breathe into it. So again, for side 2, you are welcome to lie on the back and do half happy baby. It can also be really interesting to do the half baby and full baby with a block under the sacrum. So you could try that for side 2 if you want. Otherwise, we're going to set up for lizard or dragon. And you can totally choose lizard. It doesn't have to be dragon. Or you can always shift back and forth. So fire is about transformation. So your lizard can transform into a dragon and then back into a lizard. However you want. Turn the toes out, roll the shoulders down, soften the jaw, rock the hips. So also the third chakra is nestled between the hips and the heart. So last week we talked about that water element. We talked about the hips, the emotions. Next week we'll get even more into the heart, into that compassion. And so the third chakra is fed from the waters of the sacrum, and then it feeds into the heart. And if you look at the Chinese elemental model, it's really beautiful in the way that certain elements support other elements and then other ones collapse those elements. And so we want that healthy balance. So if we talk about beginning with the root chakra, our earth element, that's where we place the seed and we tend to the soil. And then our second chakra, we start to water, we bring in the moisture, we start to sort of fertilize that space. But then we need fire. We need the fire. If that sunlight or some kind of heat doesn't begin to penetrate the seed, it's not going to go anywhere. And in addition to the full moon next week, and we'll talk about this a little bit next week too, we have the midwinter. We have the midpoint between the winter solstice and the spring equinox, which in the Celtic pantheon is connected to the stirring in the belly. So it's often like symbolized like when a woman is expecting a child, when she starts to feel the baby fluttering, like no one else can see it, no one else can feel it, but you start to feel that. That's sort of what this energy is. That's like something has begun to move out of the seed, but it's not quite ready to be revealed to the world. So just you know that there's a stirring, there's a quickening happening. And this can be for any creative idea. It doesn't have to just be for like making babies. You know, maybe you have an idea that you've been visioning and dreaming on, and you're starting to take action on it, but it's not quite out there yet. And so this is a really good time to just start to feel into that, feel into where is the fire, where is the passion, where can you be of service with your passion? How can you step into your power in a way that is intuitive and compassionate? Few more breaths. Soften the jaw, soften the face. Feel free to exhale out if you're feeling that heat. Whew. My right hip flexor is not quite as tight as my left. My left hip's tighter. So the lizard energy feels a little bit more intense. Now, if you want to add that twist, so I have my left foot forward, my left hand comes to my left thigh. I'm going to draw my hips forward, and then I'm going to start to twist. Top arm can come up or come back. So getting into the heart line, twisting through the solar plexus, opening the chest, sink your hips forward, soften the jaw. Take another big, big inhale, open everything towards the full moon. Exhale it out, let it go. And again, if you have that block, please gently move it, lower down, make your way back. So maybe a little bit of movement, maybe just a child's pose or a downward dog. Stretch the body. You can also lie on your belly too, that's fine. Said I just need to usually show a little bit of love to my hip flexors after that. Okay, so we're gonna come to our seat. We're gonna do one more hip-based fire pose. You can also do this on your back, okay? So you can do sleeping pigeon, or we're gonna come into Agni Stambhasana. Agni Stambhasana. So you can sit up on the floor, you can sit up against the wall. You can start by bringing the soles of the feet together in butterfly, and if you want, you can just do butterfly, because this pose can be held a good 5 minutes. No problem. So you can always just bow here, and that's going to feel really good on the hip flexors, and let go. Or you can come onto your back and do right side of sleeping pigeon. Or we're going to bring right shin forward and then stack the left shin on top. So it's essentially the same setup when we do sleeping pigeon, where we stack the ankle over the thigh, but then we stack the shins. Sitting up on the sit bones, a couple options here. Option one is take a block and put that between the top knee and the bottom foot. For whatever reason, when I put the block there, my top leg instantly gives a little bit. Or lie on your back and do a side of sleeping pigeon. And you can even put some support under your sacrum. And of course, if anyone has any questions, you can let me know. So this is fire log pose. But many years ago, a teacher that I don't know personally, but I've practiced with a few times, Sienna Sherman, she said that she wanted to rename it Fire Nectar. So instead of Agni Stambhasana, Agni Somasana. And I like that way better, especially when we're doing it under the fire full moon. So Agni Somasana, so that fire nectar of this full moon. And so feel again those muscles in the back body, the heart lifted. You can take your hands down. You can kind of press into your feet. Again, please don't overflex the feet. You can soften the jaw. You can rock a little bit. Same thing if you're on your back in sleeping swan. And then if you want to play a little bit here, you can plant your right hand and reach the left arm up and over for that side body awareness, really trying to ground the left thigh. So press the left thigh down. I have my little, again, my little 3-foot yoga studio. So I'm pushing into the closet, but it comes in handy. You know, it's good to be a yin restorative teacher and have your closet in your bed right next to the mat because I use them a lot. Really press down, roll your chest open, or you can just stay in that hip opener. Fire nectar. And then if you're in the side body, you can come up and then take the left hand behind you, right hand to that left knee, ground down, or whatever leg is on top, we twist towards that leg, okay? And you can even kind of come deeper, hook the elbow, and find a deeper twist here. So all options. That's the beautiful thing about any yoga asana is that there should be variations, there should be options, modifications, always a way to make this your pose. So fire energy, again, it's creative, it's innovative, it's inspiring, it's enlivening, it's energizing. As long as it's sattvic, as long as it's in balance. Take another really big breath in wherever you are. Open mouth, exhale. Slowly unwind. Whew. We're gonna switch sides. So carefully, extend. So please be gentle if you're in your fire moon pose, little shake. And then you can come into side two. You can come back into butterfly. If you'd like to do that, you can lie on your back for sleeping pigeon or swan. It's the same thing, just lineage difference. And then again, so one side is often tighter. I like to put that block between my top knee and my bottom foot. Sit bones are down. So when we're in a seated position, we want the pelvis to be neutral. So that's our second chakra, right? We don't want the waters to spill out. So we want pelvis neutral. Soften the shoulders, soften the jaw. And then just again, start to explore the heat. So again, hopefully you're feeling how the heat builds in these poses. When we do poses traditionally like pigeon or swan, some of those hip openers, they do just feel more watery, right? Like butterfly to me feels more watery, but lizard, dragon, fire log, again, I get why they're connected to fire. Then we're opening up the back, try to stay loose in the head and neck. And you can continue to fold forward, or if you're in your sleeping swan, and in sleeping swan, just keep breathing into the belly. Let that heat move through the hips from the belly. If you want to add the side bend, left hand out, right arm overhead. So it's the opposite arm that reaches up and over in the side bend. And then really ground that top leg down. So it's like almost like the opposite, right? So you're rooting that opposite hip as you reach to the other side. Even though it's actually the same side, but you're reaching to the opposite. So ground through that top hip, soften your jaw. Relax your face. And if you're in that side bend, you can bring it up and come into the twist, twisting towards the leg on top, either with the hand or hooking the elbow. Soften the shoulders, soften the face. Breathe into your back. Let that heat circulate. Maybe come back to the inner vision. So the yantra, the flame, whatever it is you're visualizing. Inhale. Exhale here. Slowly, slowly unwind. Oof, stretch your legs out. Give them a shake. Okay, so we're gonna do a belly opener. You can either use a blanket, and the blanket can be folded in half or like a long rectangle. You can even stack up a couple of these. If you have a bolster, bolster is wide, and you may or may not want a block or something under the head. So I'll show from the back. What we're looking for here is the butt is down, and we're rolling back. So it's the mid back that's coming over the blanket or the bolster so that the shoulders and the head come down. So your hips may lift. We want the arms open over the bolster. So the stretch is in the solar plexus, right? Like that's the part that's getting that expansion. So if you need to put a towel or a pillow under your head, that's totally fine. We don't want any tension in the neck. Arms can extend out or bend into goalposts. The knees can stay bent and knock together. You can extend the legs long. That's going to be a little more intense. You could also do butterfly. If you do butterfly, I always recommend putting that support under your thighs. So either the bolster or one or more blankets. So if you fold up 2 blankets in that long rectangle, it's going to be about the same height as the bolster. So that's fine. And we're going to breathe. So we're going to let all of that heat for the next 4 minutes settle. Feeling the energy. So whatever heat maybe was stuck in the hips from our sacral chakra practice last week, brought that fire element in, and hopefully letting that move through the belly. And so that solar plexus is opening like I want to say a solar panel, but we're talking fire full moon. So a lunar panel, which isn't a thing, but maybe it will be. And so opening that lunar panel of the solar plexus, that Agni Soma, that fire nectar, and opening it towards that full moon. And let your eyes relax, let your chest and your throat relax. And just see as you breathe into your belly, slow and deep. If you can focus your mind on a vision. And again, maybe it's the candle flame. Maybe you were watching a candle during the practice and you can hold that vision. Maybe it's just the fire dancing. Maybe it's the full moon. It could be that yantra, that 10-petaled lotus with the golden circle and inverted red triangle. Or maybe it's more personal. Maybe right here and now you want to visualize a symbol or a color or a scene or a statement of your own power, of your own intent. And this is a beautiful full moon to offer to the flames both what you're calling in and also what you want to release. Just make that clear in your invocation. And I had already referenced the midwinter point. And in the Celtic tradition, the midwinter point is, again, it's initiation. And initiation is often by fire, right? Trial by fire, we hear. And so allowing that fire energy in this position. So fire doesn't always have to be destructive and sweaty and a battle, right? Like we can penetrate, we can connect to the sharpness, to the focus, to the clarity through our meditation, through our visualization, through our mantra. through allowing space and time to be with the body, to be with these elements in the body. Play is very inspiring, moving your body in a way that feels good, feeling that fire element, eating nourishing warm foods, laughing. So laughing is a great third chakra practice. I don't know if it's still around, but there was a while there, probably about 10 years ago, where like laughter yoga was like a thing. Like there was like the laughing yogi, and he was going around and teaching people, because again, there's so much power in being able to laugh. There's so much joy in belly laughter, and especially in a moment where there's tension. Have you ever been arguing with someone and then all of a sudden one of you started laughing, and then for whatever reason, the other one was able to step back and laugh too? And that's not always a solution. Sometimes there are situations where we need to stand in our power, but sometimes it can be transmuted through joy, through laughter, through play. And so just for the next few minutes, feel into your solar plexus, into your lunar panel here, manipura, the heart element. And we always want the heart to be part of our action. And so I do love that, even though in some ways in this particular area, there is some inconsistency with the Chinese medicine practice and the chakra practice, but I think that they unite really beautifully. And that's what yoga is all about. So having the belly and the heart, the Agni and the prana, and that is what helps us to purify our thoughts, our desires, our vision, our action. Take one more big, big belly breath. And then open mouth, exhale. Bend your knees if they're not already bent. Sweetly roll to one side. And you can roll off your prop and maybe move it to the right side of your mat. We're going to go ahead and take a twist. So we're just going to take a supine twist here. So you can keep this really simple and just drop the knees up and over to the right, or even put a blanket between them and drop them up and over. The more you draw the knees in and then over, you're going to feel that into the internal organs more, so the higher digestive organs. If you want a little more, you can cross the right ankle over the left, so this is twisted root, and then move the hips to the right, and then you'll bring the legs up and over to the left. And they can still stack on something, but this just gets to be a little more intense, and you can feel that once we cross the legs, you can feel that line up through the side body. So roll the shoulders down. So again, just either keep it a simple supine twist or cross the legs, draw them up and over. And I have a block here catching my right knee and then rolling my right shoulder down, softening my jaw. So either a simple supine twist or a twisted root. Or, you could have left leg out and bring right leg up and over, which is kind of like half of that twisted root. That's just going to intensify sort of the detoxification and the stretch and the twist. Or if you have a favorite supine twist. So it's very common as we close an asana sequence to do it with a twist, because twists kind of rinse and clarify as it is. They kind of always connect us back with that third chakra. So especially during a third chakra practice, and maybe you added that twist in our lizard or dragon or fire log, but we want to make sure we get a proper twist for those digestive organs. So slow, steady breath, relax the face. Feel that fire moving through your body. So fire is also in our circulation. It's in our metabolism. When do you feel that sort of electricity, that heat and warmth? When we, get a fever, right? How fast does that fire move through the body? And while fever can be scary, ultimately it really is the body's defense mechanism. It's sort of that original tapas that the body does to purify itself. And so again, through our practices, we can kind of create and elicit that response in our body. And there's been a lot of conversation during this pandemic time about the way yoga and meditation boost your immune system for a number of reasons. Obviously, the lower stress response, the increase in healthy chemicals, the hormones and chemicals, but it really does help to just sort of clear things out and help the body to respond. And so our tapas, our agni, our manipura, fire, we don't want too much. We want just enough. That fire of truth, that fire of passion, of appropriate power. Because each one of us has our own unique purpose, our own unique privilege, our own unique power. And every day we get to choose how we respond, how we act. Do we act from that place of compassion and courage, and also staying connected to intuition, emotion, and all? So again, our root chakra is the planet. Our root chakra is our relationship with all beings. And then we get to choose how we act. And so every day we get the opportunity to inform our third chakra. Take another big breath in and out. Slowly bring the legs back to center. Give yourself a hug. And then when you're ready, we'll twist to the other side. So just mindfully either dropping the knees up and over to the left, maybe putting a blanket between the knees or letting them rest on support. Or left leg crosses over right. Move your hips a little bit right, and then drop them over to the right. I'm sorry, move them a little bit left and then drop them over right. Maybe letting something catch the left knee. Roll the shoulders down, soften the jaw. Last pose before relaxation. So let it all go. And there is that quality also of surrender to fire. So when we just allow ourselves, so if you think about like stepping into a hot bath or a sauna or a steam room, if you've heard about, the yogis walking on hot coals, right? Like anytime we consciously enter fire. And of course, we want to make sure we're being safe and appropriate as always, right? Discernment, viveka. But there's that idea of relaxing, when you get into the hot tub, the sauna, the steam room, trying to relax, letting the muscles soften, letting the heat penetrate. So again, penetration is one of our fire qualities, letting it penetrate into those deep levels of our subtle anatomy, our energetic anatomy, offering, releasing, because I do think that we have to give ourselves permission on some level to transform and to heal. And I know it doesn't always feel that way, and it's never an absolute, right? Like that's the thing about human life is there's always an exception. There's always a variation. But I think a lot of the times on some level, we want to give that permission to purify. So if we get into the hot tub and we tighten up all of our muscles and sit in there like that, right? Like it's going to be a different experience than if we get in that hot tub and we try to relax and breathe and let that warmth move through us. So again, choice, will, power. And it's a practice. We practice by showing up. We practice by setting intention and working towards it, having a vision and acting on it. And again, that sense of surrender, because we can act, but we have to also let go of the results. And that's in the niyamas, where we have tapas, our action, which we partner with reflection. And then at some point we must ishvara pranidhana, we must surrender. So it's important in this fire because it is the I and the ego that we are able to ascend. I'm going to take the action for my highest purpose and passion, but I'm also going to trust the process and not try to force. Take another big breath in. And then open mouth, let it go. Unwind, give yourself a hug, rock and roll, let the thighs massage your belly. And then to finish the practice, you can just stretch out into Shavasana. You could take the legs up the wall or up the bed or up the chair. The inversion is nice after kind of all that twisty stuff. But otherwise, just let go. Make sure you're warm. So if you want to put on some socks or a blanket or just rest your hands or a pillow on your solar plexus. And we've just got a few minutes here, but it's really important that we take a few minutes to release and relax, especially with fire. As I was just saying, we have to surrender to the fire sometime. And so hopefully you feel warm and more clarity. And that's what I usually come to for fire. I like that balance of energy and clarity, right? So because I get heated up. I'm a fire energy. I'm a fire and air being. No matter who you talk to, if you talk to my acupuncturist, my Ayurvedist, or my astrologer, I'm a fire air creature. But the fire, I can get too fired up. I can get too passionate. I can, too much. So fire for me is better when it is integrated and it's focused and it's clear. And so fire for you is going to be different. Your unique makeup, your unique constitution. So rest your body, relax your muscles, let everything go. You can focus your breath in your belly. One more time, you might hold that vision in your third eye or in your solar plexus. And just rest into that. Just for a few moments. And I'm going to offer one of my favorite mantras that I connect to fire. Actually, there's a lot of ones that remind me of fire. This is from the light to the dark. Om Asato Ma Sagamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mritorma Amritam Gamaya Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mritorma Amritam Gamaya Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mritorma Amritam Gamaya Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Oh, may I be led from untruth to truth, from darkness to light, from fear of death to the nectars of immortality. Peace, peace, peace. Breathe into your belly. You are always welcome to linger in Shavasana. Otherwise, feel that light and warmth and heat, that fire, full moon start to radiate through the body. Start to wiggle and stretch. And you might feel from the core a gentle undulation, a big primal activation, or you might just stay soft and curl to one side. If you choose to sit, you can rest your hands again at your solar plexus, the power center, the manipura, or again, maybe a hand to heart into the fire realm of the Chinese medicine tradition. We won both. Have them connecting. Breathe into your belly. Feel that purpose and power that is yours. The passion and play, the vision. Honoring the fire within. We'll chant a final sound of Ram. Take a deep breath. I bow to you. Om Purnima Namaha. Full moon blessings. Thank you for sharing this practice. All blessings. I bow to you. Thank you so much.